What's going on? What's going on?
Entertain the Geeky.
Hello, listeners.
What are we, NPR all of a sudden? Just, hello, listeners. How are you today?
I hope all is well. Okay, so you got to start something really cool recently, and we've been doing a lot with video games, so we're going to change it up a little bit here.
We have been doing too many video games, probably.
We've been video gaming hard here.
I mean, it's not that it's not relevant to.
It is relevant. You know
this.
what? I came to this weird conclusion today. So I saw that the new Transformers movie beat Spider-Verse in opening box office numbers.
Weird.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? There's zero way that you can stay super relevant unless you have press passes. And I have not got us press passes yet.
Oh, excuse me.
Shame on me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, all right, so we're just going to do stuff that we enjoy.
Well, this is part of that rebooted Transformers thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
After Bumblebee.
Yeah.
I will say that it's better. Just Bumblebee on its own was better than anything Michael Bay had done.
By about 1 million times.
Mostly, not even because it was a better quality movie. It was just the Transformers looked like the Transformers. Like they looked like their cartoon selves, which is, I think, something that was severely lacking as a Transformers fan from the original. I mean, even Optimus Prime didn't look quite the same. You know what I mean? It was still voiced by Peter Cullen, but he didn't look right.
There were parts of it that I enjoyed. Like the first scene with Blackout going into a military base and just decimating it.
I mean, sure.
That was fucking cool. But I mean, the movies were subpar just on a writing quality and all that. Yeah, there were some cool special effects or whatever. The Transformers did look like something from Pacific Rim and not Transformers.
Exactly, yeah.
Which was a little off. And I get that they're trying to take some kind of creative liberty with it, but it's also like, dude, people love them for what they are.
There was something about, like, we wanted you to see how all the pieces worked together and how this transformed from a car into a robot. And those of us that watch the cartoon, we don't care. We just don't care.
Okay, so you clearly watched bonus footage from one of the DVDs because that's something that they talked about. Yeah. And they were like, well, you know, this part, we got to find a place for it. And
who cares?
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, it's a fucking
Does it go from a truck to a robot? Then I don't care about all the parts.
It's a fucking species from outer space. Like it knows what all the ins and outs of the car are.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So that
it mimics the car to blend in, right? It doesn't mimic the car because it's literally a car robot.
Right.
No.
Well, like the popping of the hood of Bumblebee in the first movie, and she's like, oh, wow, you've got a low-rise double-pump carburetor.
How the hell would Bumblebee know what that is? He comes from outer space.
Doesn't care. He would probably have some like plutonium-fueled...
It wouldn't look like an engine at all.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It would be this weird thing that...
Bumblebee doesn't have an engine inside of him.
Well, when she first popped the hood and was like, whoa, that's what I was expecting. Like, I remember watching that movie and I was like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, so there's no way that we can stay super relevant without a press pass. And sorry, guys, I haven't got those yet. However, we do a lot of nerdy shit.
We do. And just on our own.
Some of it's very, very exclusive. And you...
Exclusive? I don't know. I stole this from a guy on the internet.
Yeah, but how many people have actually played it, though?
I don't know.
Probably not many.
Really, what I took from him was just the conversions, right? So what we did is we are using D&D 5th edition as our backdrop, but we set our game in the world of Legend of Zelda. And specifically, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. My players are playing the 4 champions. Link has fallen, Calamity Ganon has risen, and Zelda is missing. And so we started the game, them like in the cutscene, right, where he says champions to your divine beasts and all that. So we started the game with them going to their respective villages and finding out that no, Ganon has taken control of these and they're locked out.
Yep.
Right, so they can't get in. Eventually they will be able to get in so we can keep the continuity, the way it was. But again, if you died 99 years ago, you would still say I died 100 years ago, right? You wouldn't say I died 99 and a half years ago.
Correct.
So I figured we had at least a year to play with. And So they come back to the Battle of Hyrule Field after the Battle of Hyrule Field is over.
Okay.
I forgot to do that too, so I'm going to do that real quick. But they come back to the Battle of Hyrule Field to the burning ruins of Hyrule Castletown.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, everybody's dead. The Guardians have started to move out into the surrounding villages to just keep decimating Hyrule Field. The barracks, and there's various troop places and stuff there that they just destroyed. So they come back to the battle. At the end of the battle, pretty much every royal guard and soldier from Hyrule is dead, with the exception of one of my players is playing. This guy who, like, they come to find him, like, holding the body of, like, a dead soldier that he was under him, and he has no honor. The king is dead. He's failed in his mission. He's severely PTSD, right? Well, so I did a little kind of cinematic battle there where everybody kind of came into town from different directions and dealt with a couple of things. Like Mifa dealt with some bokoblins that were, like, burning. Rivali actually dealt with a Mark I Guardian, which is one of the little scout types, not the big Mark IV one that Link has to deal with in the game a lot. Because honestly, they're level 3. They're not ready for that.
Yeah, they're way too level to deal with it anyway. Yeah.
This thing's got like 200 hit points. It's insane.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But so yeah, they come back. They meet this guy. This guy sees some of the Lizafos, and the soldier guy, like, all he knows at this point, like, because he's ready to kind of just end his own life, right? So he sees getting into a battle as his way to do that.
That's his out. Yeah.
That's his out. But then when he realizes the champions still live, he sees this as a way to get his honor back, to help the champions try to defeat Calamity Ganon. Now, continuity-wise, the champions cannot defeat Calamity Ganon. That is Link's job.
Right.
That is Link and Zelda's job. The champions were there to support their effort. Without Link and Zelda, what are they going to do? So they end up going to Hyrule Castle. They end up actually seeing Zelda confront the Calamity and get taken, and they kind of merge. And then Zelda speaks to them directly, telling them to seek Impa. Impa will know what to do. So they end up in Kakariko. They find Impa and Robbie and Purah kind of grappling with everything that's happened, trying to pick the pieces back together, trying to find out what happened to Link, what happened to Princess Zelda. And while they're there, two Sheikah scouts come and say, like, Link has fallen. We have taken him to the Shrine of Resurrection, which was one of the cutscenes in the game too, where Zelda says, his life is in your hands. And she sends these Sheikah soldiers to put him in the Shrine of Resurrection, or these Sheikah ninjas. And so they report that Link has fallen. The hero has fallen, i.e., the game is called Legend of Zelda, The Shattered Sword, right? The Shattered Sword being Link and the Master Sword. They kind of get a little bit of information, and Purah and Robbie start talking about an ancient legend among the Sheikah of this place called the Astral Observatory. Now, those of you that have played Breath of the Wild know that the Astral Observatory is where you fight Ganon underneath the throne room. It's this big giant domed thing with little star constellations all over the walls. And at the bottom of the walls, you can see the prophecy play out. Right, so the prophecy of 10,000 years ago, Link, Zelda, all of this. Well, so what I did is I just added in the Guardians, the 4 characters that would pilot the Divine Beast, the champions, not the Guardians. I'm sorry, the champions, to basically say, like, their part is not over. Right, eventually the game will. I don't want to spoil too much in case they're listening, but if you've played Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you know how their story ends. But in this little interim time, we had some stuff to play with. So they try to get into the Astral Observatory. I did it like a traditional Zelda game with dungeons. And then so this first trying to get into the Astral Observatory was a puzzle. It's an ancient Sheikah legend of this place that they would study prophecy. And so just to get into the room was a puzzle with several pieces around the room that had to be activated in order to open the door. One of those puzzles included using a mirror to reflect a light source at a specific thing. Like, I designed it like a Zelda game. I wanted it to feel that way.
Okay.
So they end up getting into the Astral Observatory. And if you've played the Champions Ballad DLC, there is a moment when Link goes to a place underneath the Shrine of Resurrection. He's going to go claim his own divine beast, which turned out to be the Master Cycle Zero, which was pretty cool. A little horse-shaped motorcycle that you get to ride around.
Mario Kart.
Yeah. So they when you're Link in the game and you're down there, you come across at the very end a monk, one of the monks, just like in a shrine, sitting in like a preserved state. And when you pop his little preserved state, you hear him say, something to the effect of, blessings upon you from Goddess Hylia for getting this far. You must face one final test. And the camera kind of zooms in on his mummified hand, and you see it crunch and move. And then the monk stands up, and you have a boss fight against this mummified monk,
Nice.
Monk Moscotia. So I included Monk Moscotia in the beginning of my game, especially since one of my friends who's playing in the game, he hasn't gotten to that point in the game yet. So to him, the monks are they're mummified. They're static. They don't do anything. So to have a monk move, he was like, what? It's moving? And I even told him, I was like, oh, you'll deal with Monk Moscotia in your own game. It will be great. But so Monk Moscotia is basically testing the champions to see if they're worthy to participate in this quest and help the hero. So they get into a boss fight that plays out exactly as the boss fight plays out in video game, right? So he starts with, he's teleporting around, he's charging at them with his sword drawn, and then after they've dealt enough damage to him, then he starts to split himself among like 10 different versions, 9 of which are not him and will immediately dissipate upon hitting them. So then then they had to find out which one was him. And again, once they take off another chunk of his health, then he grows really big and tries to stomp them, and he's shooting lasers out of his eyes and stuff. It's a great boss fight. Like, it's in the game. It's a very cool boss fight. So I wanted to recreate it. So I did. So then the monk speaks to them after they defeated it. The monk speaks to them directly and tells them of their part in the prophecy. Their part in the prophecy is when Link fell, the soul, because I don't know, out there, if you're unfamiliar with how Link, Zelda, and Ganon work, it works like this. Ganon is immortal. He is demise, being reborn in a person time and time again.
Yep.
And that person is Ganondorf. So Ganondorf's Dracula. He will be reborn time and time again. Zelda carries the blood of the goddess through her bloodline, right? So mother to daughter, mother to daughter, mother to daughter. They all carry the blood of the goddess. So her power comes from her lineage.
Mm-hmm.
Link is unique among all of them. Link is the soul of that first hero that just kind of sits in the ether until Ganon rises again. And then it inhabits a warrior in that world. And then that soul links that warrior to the Master Sword, right? So once that soldier's job is done and Ganon has been defeated, the soul leaves the hero and stays in the ether waiting for the next hero, right? So Link is not special. Link carries the soul of the very first Link, right? And so on and so on and so forth. So when he died, because he did die, right? The Shrine of Resurrection brought him back to life, and it took 100 years for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So when he died, the soul abandoned him.
Would it have been faster if he would have just died and they'd have let him be dead and then the soul would have found a new hero?
So in this era, Link is that hero.
Okay.
Right? So the soul chooses one bearer in each era.
Okay, so it had to be this
So it
guy.
has to be this
Okay.
version of Link, right?
Okay.
Like, so when he died, the soul can't make a distinction between, we're about to resurrect him. So the soul abandons him and split. And the monk tells them this, right? He shows them a vision of Link's death. And what Link and Zelda don't see is the soul of the hero leaving Link's body and splitting into 7 pieces and sent to the far corners of Hyrule. Those 7 pieces represent 7 dungeons in the game that the heroes have to go to, fight a boss, get a piece of the soul. So their goal is to reassemble the soul of the hero and get it back to the body. Because if they don't, when Link wakes up in 100 years, he's not going to be able to reclaim the Master Sword, and he's not going to be able to fight Ganon. You need the Master Sword. You can't fight him without it. I mean, you can in the game terms, but in the story terms, no, like he needs the Master Sword.
Yeah.
The sword that seals the darkness, right? So they get that prophecy. The monk kind of goes back into his little stasis chamber and he's pulled away. And now they have to go out into the world, find these 7 dungeons and reassemble these 7 pieces of the soul. And I would go into a little more detail about where that story is going to go, but one of the players could listen to this podcast and then they will have knowledge they should not have yet. But suffice it to say, my wife, Corey, was not able to be at the first session. She's playing Urbosa.
Yeah.
And I actually found a good workaround for the fact that she wasn't going to be there because or Calamity Ganon has risen at this point.
Yes.
So the Yiga clan, the splinter group of the Sheikah who follow Calamity Ganon, they have become emboldened, right? So when Urbosa goes back to try to retake her divine beast, she finds that her city, the capital of Gerudo, the Gerudo Desert, is under attack by the Yiga clan. They feel emboldened. They're like, no, we're just going to destroy all our enemies now.
So she has to be there.
So she has to stay there as the chief. So that's a good reason why she wasn't there. And it now is leading the players. Well, no, we have to find out what happened to Urbosa. So now we have to go to the Gerudo Desert. And it so happens the Spirit Temple is in the desert.
Ooh.
So they're on their way to help Urbosa. In the start of the next session, we're going to be on our way to help Urbosa fight off the Yiga clan, and then we'll probably do the temple. Now, the thing that's exciting for me about this game in general is my favorite Legend of Zelda game is A Link to the Past. Ocarina of Time, these are all great games. There's no doubt. A Link to the Past just had a special place for me. It was the first Zelda game I completed.
Yeah.
It was the first Zelda game I got all my heart containers. I got my maxed out item inventory. Like I did everything that game had to offer as a little kid. And I was very proud of that. So that's what that's what I designed this game to feel like.
You got medals for running really fast, and I completed Zelda Link to the Past in its entirety. You bitch.
Yep. You're wasting your time with all that metal nonsense. So I designed this role-playing game to feel very much like that.
Yeah.
7 dungeons, just like the 7 maidens that you have to save in A Link to the Past. All the dungeons are part of the different topographical regions, right? So there's one in the desert, there's one in the mountains, there's one in the forest, there's one in the lake. All of these different, the water temple too, man. Look, water temples are insane in Zelda games, and I took that idea and ran with it. Suffice it to say, the person who's playing the Zora is going to have a lot more to do than they normally would. And I give everybody that chance, right?
Every character has to have their opportunity to shine.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, so while you playing the Zora character are a great swimmer, that's not really going to come up a lot, but it will in the water temple. You're going to be invaluable in the water temple, especially since one of the things you get as a Zora as a racial bonus is dolphin jump, which means if you jump out of the water, you can actually triple your jump distance.
Holy shit.
So like they could literally shoot themselves out of the water up to higher levels.
They're a rocket ship at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody has their little ability, right? In game terms, Mipha's Grace, 3 times a day, Mipha can heal herself completely or another. Daruk's Protection allows him 3 times per day to give himself a +2 bonus to AC or to another.
Okay.
Rivali's Gale allows him to triple his speed while he's flying for 3 times a day. Right? It's for 1 move. It doesn't last forever. It lasts for 1 move because it does run out.
Right.
But you can do it 3 times a day. So he already has a flight speed of 60. So he can triple that speed while he's in the air.
Holy cow.
Which means in the air, he can move faster than anyone.
Right.
With the exception of the fish, if there's water.
Yeah.
The fish can also move that fast
moving
in
180
water.
feet real quick. Yeah.
Yes. And then, who's the other one? Urbosa's Fury. 3 times a day, Urbosa can call lightning. It's 3d6 damage, I think, something to that effect.
Cool.
Game terms, right? So everybody has their ability, but then the way this guy worked this book and these conversions is one of my characters is playing a paladin. It's not really like a paladin in D&D because he went ahead and made class features and level milestones that aren't at all like the ones in D&D because this is not D&D. This is supposed to be Zelda.
Yeah.
Right? So like right away he gets Divine Sense, which is something that a paladin would get in D&D. But in the Zelda terms, it means any skeletal monsters like the stalls that come out at night, any Redead or Gibdo, undead mummies or corpses. If he's within 60 feet of them, he knows.
He knows.
He knows. There's something undead over there. You know?
That's totally badass.
Yeah.
Okay.
And as he's playing a Hylian, it treats Hylians as the most basic race in the game. It treats Hylians like it does humans. Right, where they get a little bit of boost right at the beginning because they don't get a racial bonus. They're just normal people. Right? Like the fish get a bonus, the birds get a bonus, the rock guy gets a bonus, the bird guy gets a bonus, right? Like,
your special is all out of the way right out of the gate.
Yeah. You're special. You're not special, but so because of that, the game gives you a little bonus to your stats to make you feel special.
Here's a cookie.
I also gave to the Goron. Shannon is playing Daruk. Daruk can do the roll. Right.
How does that work for movement speed?
It doubles your movement speed.
Okay.
As long as you have a straight line to travel in.
Makes sense.
You can't turn with it because you can't see. And if you use it in combat, it actually does bludgeoning damage and can knock enemies prone if you're successful.
Bitchin'.
Yeah, I know. She already used it to great effect in the first game.
Is it with a saving throw?
Yes, they do get a reflex saving throw to avoid it, right? No, if you manage to hit them with it, they get a reflex saving throw or dexterity saving throw
to see if they get knocked prone. That's what I figured. Okay.
Yeah, but if you hit them with it, you still do the damage.
That's
you just
so badass.
May or may not also knock them down. Right?
Very cool.
And roll right over them.
That's amazing.
So yeah, the first session was good, man. They got into a couple of battles. Like I said, there was a more cinematic battle that happened when they got back to the field. And then a more focused battle that happened when they fought Monk Moscotia. But it all flowed really nicely, and the Zelda mechanics work really well in D&D.
Zelda is like relatively low magic.
Yeah.
And anything low magic works very well with 5e.
Yes. Hey, look, there's a tiny person coming into the shot.
Baby. Come grab her real quick, bud. Hey, Tear's going to take you jumpy, sugar.
Adorable. Anyway, yeah, no, it works. It just works really well. Like, there's not a lot of magic.
Right.
So like, again, the one character's playing a paladin. I think it's paladin, barbarian for Daruk. Rivali is a ranger.
Okay.
Mifa is a fighter. I wanted to make Mifa a cleric, but the cleric just doesn't really work with the warrior side of her. And then Urbosa is a rogue, actually. That was the class that fit the best with Urbosa.
Interesting. Okay.
And I think it comes when I saw that, I was initially like, no, Urbosa's not a rogue. But then I remembered one cutscene from the Champion's Ballad where her and Zelda, after formally she accepts, oh, I'll be the champion of the Divine Beast, they're walking in the desert talking. And two random citizens walk by. And in the middle of Urbosa's talking, she just kind of stops. And you can see her like focus, kind of looking behind her at these two people. And she just goes, halt and face me. And these people are confused. And she goes, unlike you cowards, I prefer to face my enemies head on. And all of that seems like, well, no, she's like a super good fighter person.
Right.
But then when she destroys them in combat. I mean, like, absolutely destroys them.
Decimates them, yep.
And as they're laying there beaten, she utters the words, out of respect for our princess, you may keep your lives. Now go. And I was like, no, like, so what that implies is if Zelda wasn't there, she just would have murked them and been done with it. So the idea of, no, you're my enemy, so you have to die? No, that's a rogue characteristic right there. So I think rogue worked well for her, not only for her skill set, but for the idea that she's not 100% a good person.
It's not always pretty for her, yeah.
No, like she lives in like the rest of them kind of have peace in their worlds. She has the Yigas living next door. Her people are at constant war with these splinter group of the Sheikah. And the reason that splinter group of the Sheikah is dangerous is because the Sheikah are the most technologically advanced species in Hyrule.
The dude that put all this together initially, that did the conversion, was as big of a nerd as you are.
Probably. Look, when I say he did everything, I don't have to do anything.
That's what
Any stat block I need for an enemy.
That's what I'm saying. He did everything. Otto, come on.
Even the ones that are in Breath of the Wild that are more new, like Guardians and things like that. No, he's got stat blocks for them.
Yeah, he did.
He did all the work.
He did all of it. And it's like, dude, and well, what's funny is there was this point where you're like, I don't think a rogue is right. And then you're like, a rogue is perfect.
Yeah. All it took was
so
me going,
funny.
wait a minute, let me think about some of the scenes that have her in them. No, yeah, Rogue is her class, right? Like
So freaking funny, man.
so not only does she have the Urbosa's Fury and that kind of stuff, but she also has sneak attack damage. So she's catching opponents
Right.
off guard, or if she's flanking an opponent, she has sneak attack damage. And that sneak attack damage can also apply to the lightning, right? If you can manage to catch someone unaware with the lightning, no, you can apply sneak attack damage to that too. If they weren't ready for it, if they didn't know it was coming, right? If you open a battle with that, well, you've sneak attacked with lightning.
Sick.
So not only do you get the 3d6 or 2d6 or whatever it was for the lightning, but you also get to add the d6s for your sneak attack.
So she's kind of like an arcane trickster rogue.
Yes.
Nice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that. That's so much fun.
And then my Hylian is, like I said, a paladin.
Makes sense.
Honorable, the guy who, and it's funny how dice work out sometimes, because the whole time it was like, roll. Oh, you failed at that? Yeah, that makes sense. Right? Like I love when that shit lines up where it's like, no, your failure is actually, we're gonna work your failure into the story. So like they were searching for the key to unlock this door, right? It was a puzzle. They had to look around and investigate and stuff. And Tim, who's playing the paladin, who's just like concerned with like, no, I'm just gonna kill everything. Everything's gotta fucking die because I'm angry. I lost my honor. They took the king. I failed, right? So he's just this murder hobo. When it came to investigating, he was like, okay, I'm gonna go over to this hole and I'm gonna do my investigation there. And he rolled terrible. And I was just like, yeah, there's nothing to kill here, bro. So it's really just not appealing to you at all to solve a puzzle. And Daruk was having the same problem. I was like, yeah, you walk over, roll. And she rolled. And she was like, oh, it's like a 2. And I was just like, yeah, you don't understand puzzles? You're just a big rock guy?
Not your thing?
Your thought is, can I eat the rocks that are in here? You're just distracted by that. Look at all these delicious rocks I could eat.
We're supposed to eat these rocks, and that will surely get us out. That's fantastic.
When they found out, and this was something that's really cool too, Zora get bioluminescence, right? They can actually make themselves glow in the dark. And that's so that when they're in the deep water, they can see what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, there's stone in the game that is bioluminescent. They're called luminous stones. And this ancient Sheikah thing was built of luminous stones. Now it's not glowing anymore. It's been 10,000 years since this thing was built. But Mifa goes over and says, okay, I'm going to look a little closer at the stonework, right? And I said, okay, how close do you get? She was like, oh, I want to reach out and touch it. I was like, when you reach out and touch it, it reacts to your bioluminescence. Like you glow and so does it. So then Mifa goes, it's made of luminous stone.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? So like those little things like that I throw in there to try to keep the players on their toes, keep them guessing. What is the significance of the fact that it's made of luminous stone? Well, it reacts to bioluminescence. So theoretically, it would react to light. Well, that's how they figured out, like, oh, we got to get this mirror and we got to get this light to come down and shine over there.
Fucking laser beams.
And I haven't stopped. That's just the beginning, man. I got puzzles in every dungeon to solve in order to either open the door to the next, find a chest with a key. I'm doing it straight up video game style where
that's amazing.
I have these map tiles that I got that are interconnectable.
Yeah.
So when you walk into the dungeon, we're going to put one tile down, the entranceway. And then when you move out of this, I'll go put the next tile down that goes over here. And when you find a little chest that has a map in it, well, now we're going to put the rest of the tiles on the board.
Now you know where everything is, yeah.
So you can see where everything is, right? And when you find the compass, I'll mark where the treasure chests are on the board because that's what the compass does in the game. In order to get into the boss room, you have to find the boss key. You can't just walk in there. You got to get the key that opens the big boss lock and go in there. So yeah, I'm excited to do it. And again, I would go into a little more detail about the story, but I don't want to spoil things for some of my players.
Well, no, it's funny that you're saying that because with, or not that you don't want to spoil, but that you're doing this thing where you're revealing tiles as you go, because I've done something akin to that twice with the players that are in my regular group. One time they were exploring a basically underground labyrinth, and none of them didn't know anything about it. So of course, they're not going to be like, "All right, well, if we take a sharp left here, 20 feet down, we'll be able to get into a tunnel with a stairway." No, so I was like, "All right, here we go. You're in this section." I was covering everything with paper because I had it drawn out on poster board, and they were like,
reveal the paper, pull the paper off when you reveal.
They're like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh yeah. So we had a similar thing happen recently where they're going through a cave when they liberated all these goblins.
Right.
And since they were taken down there when they were, bound and basically incapacitated, they had no idea where to go in this cave. So I was like, all right, well, this is how far you can see based off of your, vision. So Now what?
Yeah.
And they're like, man, fuck you. And I'm like, yep, fuck me.
Yeah. Well, if you ever want to borrow those little tiles that interconnect, they're great, man. There's like 30 little tiles.
I have some.
Okay,
I have some, yeah.
They're fucking great.
No, they're incredible. I'm so tempted right now to spend money on a 3D printer because I want to print dungeon tiles so bad.
Yeah, Jackie is supposed to be printing me figures.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Represent each of the 4 champions.
Yeah.
So that each character or each player will have a figure that represents like that actually like this. No, this is Rivali. This is Daruk. This is Mifa. And this is Urbosa.
Totally badass.
Yeah. They're modeled after, Jackie found some templates for them on the internet. They're modeled after the amiibo.
No shit.
Yeah, so he actually found a way to shrink them because the amiibo are pretty big.
Yeah.
A little too big for D&D. So he found a way to shrink them down to D&D size.
Oh my God, to like 28 millimeter?
Using the parameters of his 3D printer, he found a way to shrink them down.
That's sick.
They found a way to shrink them down. So they're gonna print them out. I don't have them yet, but they're gonna print them out.
That's gonna be so fucking cool, dude.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because like Daruk is large.
Yeah.
As far as size go, right? It's a 2x2 base. The rest of them are normal. But like the moment I put that base, like I just had some bases, right, for this first session. And I was like, here's yours, Shannon. Shannon was like, I'm large, amazing. But then the first thing that happened was she's trying to squeeze through these alleyways in what's left of Castletown. And she's like, can I even move through this? And I was like, I mean, yeah, you're probably going to have to like, squeeze on by.
Your
but
movement
sure,
speed is cut in half.
Your movement speed is going to be like, yeah, exactly. Game terms, that just means you can't move as fast.
Right. That's fucking awesome.
But it was good. I also love playing with Lizifos. Lizifos, if you've played the game, you know they're good at camouflaging themselves, right? If you're running around in the desert, you might not even see one until it like bursts out of the sand. But like they're sitting there. Like, so if you're really paying attention, you can see the outline of the thing, but it's exactly the same color as the sand around it. They do that in the green. They do that in the mountains. They're everywhere. So the first thing that Shannon has to do is roll perception to see if she notices anything. And I was like, she rolled terrible. And I was like, yeah, you just noticed some weird rocks. They're just like weird rocks. She's like, I'm going to go up and poke them. So as soon as you poke it, it turns into a lizard guy who like jumps and pounces down on
pissed
you.
At you. Yeah, pissed.
Because she can't see it. She didn't roll good enough. So it's just a pile of rocks to you.
I mean, the random aspect of it would make that so much like that's what makes role-playing games fun for the most part is that random thing. But yeah, for your scenario in particular and how you're trying to really work it into the story, God, that would make it so good.
It is really fun, man. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to is finally getting into some of the dungeons, because not only did this guy who made this template do every basic enemy, but he's got a whole chapter that's just all the bosses in every Zelda game. So I got to kind of pick and choose which bosses I wanted to use. And I won't spoil some of them here. But suffice it to say, he had boss things for Gleox and Gomas and, I mean, every Dodongos, every kind of boss you can encounter.
How much time do you think he spent on that shit?
I don't know, but he can't sell it because Nintendo is very serious about their IPs. Like, they will sue the shit out of you if you try to make money off something that's their intellectual property.
What's so funny is they did a role-playing thing with Critical Role recently, too.
Yeah. Well, but if they're licensing it, that's one thing.
No, I know. Right? It's just...
This guy just made a thing, and you can just download it for free on the internet.
I mean, he
can't sell it.
Right.
Like, the sheets also, so I'm doing leveling. I don't like leveling with experience. I never really have. I like milestone leveling.
Okay.
Where you get to a certain point and you level up.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've become something, you overcame some great challenge or whatever it is. So in this game, because it's based on a video game, every time Link in the video game would get a heart piece,
that's when they level.
You level up.
How high are you going to let them level?
So there are 7 dungeons, so that's 7 levels right there. 7 heart pieces. Each dungeon would give Link a heart piece or a heart container.
Okay, so level 10.
So that takes them up to level 10. Then the sheet has the little 4 heart container thing on it so that you can fill it in as you find them. So what I have done is I've created side adventures within the game.
Oh, so fun, man.
That if you do a side adventure, you'll get a piece. And once you get all 4, you level up. So I'd imagine in the mid-teens is probably where they'll end up, depending on how much side content they choose to engage in.
Yeah, probably 12 to 15.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, so fucking cool.
Because also, I told them when we were playing, I said, if you guys want to petition me for a heart piece, like, hey, we've got some downtime, let's go clear out that enemy camp. And if we clear out that enemy camp, can we get a heart piece? Yeah, sure. Right. So you don't have to engage in the side content that I've created.
You can make your own.
You can make your own. If you want to say, hey, we're going to go do this thing that's outside our normal parameters, can we get a heart piece for that? Sometimes the answer will be, yeah, sure. Sometimes it'll be, no.
You didn't
Not
do
for
my
that.
side quest, bitch.
Right. I'm not for that. No.
That's awesome.
But like clearing out an enemy camp, sure. Why not? Yeah.
I freaking love it.
I'm excited. Also in the dungeons, I've been able to use, because the Breath of the Wild world is very specific about which monsters exist in it, right? So you have your Coblins, your Lizithos, your Moblins, Lynels, Taluses, Hinox, Guardians. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, the bats, the little Keese bats,
Sure.
right? That's it. That's all that exists. Those are all the monsters that exist in that world. But because we're going into dungeons, it's allowed me to bring in things like likes, Gibdos, Redeads,
God, the Redeads.
Staphos Knights. There's a Staphos Knight fight in one of my
fucking awesome.
And the Staphos Knights are awesome, man. That was always one of the things I loved fighting in like Ocarina of Time, right? Because they actually use their shields.
Yeah.
Like it feels like a real sword fight. At least it did back then. I mean, now it looks terrible.
Right.
by
Now
comparison.
it's rudimentary, but yeah.
But if at the time, man, I felt like I was actually having a sword fight with an enemy that was actually trying to defend itself, right? That wasn't just going to stand there and let me swipe at it over and over again. And this guy's got stat blocks for everything.
So
Every monster you could think of.
what is the group thought so far?
We only had the one session. It seemed like they had a good time.
Yeah.
I get insecure about games that I write and run.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably annoying for me to say, like, I hope everybody had a good time, because I'll say it every fucking time.
I do too.
Right? I hope everybody had a good time, because hearing people say, oh, that was fun, that gives me a little, gives me a little endorphing boost, right?
That's why you do it.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason.
I want you to have
is-
fun.
Yeah.
I'm having fun, but I want you to have fun. My fun is assured. I'm the one who wrote the story.
Right.
My fun is assured. I'm having a good time running
Seeing
it.
you interact with the shit that I did is exciting.
Yeah, but I want you to be enjoying it too. I don't want you to sit there like feeling like you don't have anything to do,
Right.
or feeling like there's not a good balance between combat and role playing, right? So that first session, we had those two kind of combat encounters, one that happened in the castle town and one that happened in the Astral Observatory.
Mm-hmm.
But in between that, it was a lot of, we're talking to Impa, we're talking to Pura, we're talking to Robbie.
Were they engaging with your NPCs? Like, well,
They were.
I know they were, because I know who the people are.
Yeah, most everybody was. I think Tim's taking a little while to kind of work his way in. Also, he's playing a character that probably wouldn't interact as much, right? He's a little closed off. He's got a little PTSD going on from what happened at the castle. When
Yeah, he
Calamity
might be
Ganon
just
rose.
a little spacey right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, and I've played games with Tim before, right? It always takes Tim a while to get comfortable anyway, but I think eventually he'll be engaging. He played in that Star Wars game I ran at the store.
Yeah.
And that was great. Like, that was a fun game. We did like the scum and villainy game, right?
Oh,
Where
yeah.
it was bounty hunters and smugglers and shit. It was a good game. But yeah, otherwise I think it was good. I'm also the kind of person there, I think I did it during the game. Where like things were being explained to the party and they were kind of interacting with one of the NPCs, and Tim was just kind of sitting there quietly. So I like addressed him as the NPC, like, Toma, you're very quiet over there. What are your thoughts? Right. So I like try to,
You have to.
I don't want to force people, right? Because if they're not comfortable, I don't want to make them uncomfortable, but I at least want to,
You want to give them the opportunity.
I want to give you the opportunity,
Yeah.
right? Because when you have players that are experienced, like Zach and Lemur, who have done this time and time and time again since they were children, and me personally, right? Or you sitting in a game,
Right.
I don't want to take all the spotlight, right? Like, and I feel like I do sometimes. I feel like I'm talking more than anyone else, or whatever that might be.
Right.
Right. So when I run a game, I want to make sure that I want to try to at least mitigate that a little bit and give everybody a chance to chime in if that's what they want to do. If you don't want to chime in, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you do and you feel like you can't, I don't want you to ever feel like you can't. So I, put a specific moment there where I said, because everybody's talking except this guy. Well, so Robbie, who knows Toma personally, Robbie worked in Hyrule Castle.
Yeah.
He knows most of the Royal Guard personally. He knows his name. When he saw him, he's like, Toma, I'm so glad you survived, right? I'm so sorry. Robbie, in the way he would work within this world, if I'm actually playing Robbie, no, he would want to know what Toma's opinion is.
Right.
Because he knows Toma personally. Right. So it kind of worked out in that way.
Good.
Oh, you're kind of quiet over there. What do you think? And I don't want like I said, I don't want anybody to feel like they don't have something to do. I want everybody to get a chance to shine. The champions are a little more relevant than Toma will ever be, but that doesn't mean Toma doesn't have a purpose in the story. I have a purpose for Toma. I can't talk about what it is because it's kind of a big moment and I want Tim to be surprised, but everybody has a moment to shine because I feel like everybody should, right? Everybody should have a session where they go, oh man, I fucking killed it that session, right? Without me, everybody would have been dead.
100%.
You know what I mean? I want you to feel that as a player, and I want everybody to feel that at least once or twice within the game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, especially if it's one of the players that's having a little more trouble engaging.
Yeah.
Like my youngest, he has a little bit of trouble with, or not youngest, but middle kid. God, I'm old. He has a little bit of trouble engaging with the story sometimes. He's just like, I'm supposed to roll dice and hit shit.
Right.
So recently they were in a market, and he got to encounter a vendor that singled him out, and he was like, hey, I want your belt. I see that it is valuable. I want that. I have something that you want. And he was like, what could you possibly have that I want?
Right.
Well, the guy gave him a fucking Phoenix hatchling.
Jeez.
Wild shit.
That's OP as hell.
OP as hell.
He traded a belt for a Phoenix hatchling? That was a stupid shopkeep.
More than a belt.
That was a stupid shopkeep.
It was. But it was also, I was like, man, I just want him to be excited to play.
Sure.
So he's going to have something OP. He didn't use it in combat at all.
The Phoenix is immortal.
I know.
It will just die and be reborn from the flame.
I explained that. I'm like,
you have an immortal animal companion now.
I'm like, everybody wants to find their companion when they're a ranger because he was a ranger, beastmaster, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so, your companion kind of just fell into your lap.
You have an immortal animal companion.
It's totally badass and has fire. Like,
they will die in flame and be reborn from the ashes.
So when I said I have this Phoenix hatchling, he was like, and like the look on his face, he about lost his shit. And I was like, oh, you want this, huh? Yeah. So then, it got to be fun.
Find good ways to get people engaged.
Yeah, and it sucked him back into the story again, and it was cool as shit, man. So yeah, I can totally appreciate being like, hey, Tomo, what's you thinking?
Yeah, you're awful quiet over there. What's going on?
Are you plotting on me?
Mm-hmm. I also was excited because Robbie, Pura, and Impa are NPCs in the Zelda video game that are very distinct and have kind of their own personalities.
Yeah.
So I'm a performer, and I tried to get that across, right? So like Robbie at one point hears someone say something that sparks a thought, and I like explain to the players like, dude, Robbie just stops engaging and he just like walks away and he like pulls out a whiteboard and he starts writing on it. Right, he's doing calculations and stuff. And I was like, he's not ignoring you. You said something that made him go,
flip the switch.
I got to figure this out now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pura is very erratic. She gets pulled in different directions. She's very, hi, I'm Pura, right? Like she's very upbeat. And Impa is very stoic, is very wise, right? So I kind of they're three Sheikah, and two of them are sisters. Impa and Pura are actually sisters in the game. So I tried to bring kind of their own distinct personalities, and that was fun for me to try to recreate what I had seen in the game for so long in my game.
Fuck yeah.
I like that. I enjoy that kind of stuff, and I do different voices, and I get up. Rarely am I sitting down while I'm running a game unless we're in the middle of combat and I have to be focused on papers and stat blocks and stuff like that.
I'm the same way. I'll pace and be talking in a voice to the party because it's...
Yeah, I mean, there was one point where one of the things that helped them solve the puzzle was two of these things in the room, these symbols that they had to activate, were facing each other. They were the only two. There were 6 or 7 symbols in the room. These were the only two that faced each other. The rest of them all faced in random different directions. So I'm playing Impa, who at one point is looking at these two things. They're trying to figure out what the hell to do. And I was like, so she like walks over, and I like got up and walked over to Lemur, I think, who's playing Rivali. And I leaned down right next to him, right? And just went, they face each other. They're the only two that face each other, right? It's like Impa getting up and walking over there to look and see from his perspective. I just got up and walked over there to see from his perspective, right? Even though I'm not looking at anything real, it kind of helps me get into the character a little more when I'm physically embodying it as well as
sure.
like doing a voice and a personality.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
You know what's funny? Lemur was at my work this week, and I was swamped, so I didn't get a chance to talk to him because I wanted to ask him about the game.
Yeah.
I was so bummed. I was like, fuck.
Lemur's playing Rivali, and Rivali I mean, you've played Breath of the Wild. Rivali's a dick. He's an arrogant dick. He's got a heart of gold, right? He really wants to be the greatest warrior in his village because he wants to protect his people. Mm-hmm. But what that turns into in his like defense mechanism is he's kind of a dick to Link. He kind of thinks, well, why is this hero the one that's supposed to fight Ganon? Obviously, I'm the one that should be fighting Ganon.
I'm a hero too.
Right. I am the greatest warrior in Hyrule. So whenever the concept of Link would come up, like Link's dead, the soul of the hero's the soul of the hero's been shattered. When he found out the whole thing was to reunite the pieces of Link's soul in game, he just goes, till I steal the soul and become the hero myself. Because again, right? Like that's Rivali. Rivali doesn't think Link is important at all.
Has Lemur played it?
What do you mean?
Breath of the Wild?
No.
I didn't think so.
So what I did before the game is the Champions Ballad DLC introduced 5 new cutscenes.
Yeah.
4 of which are about Princess Zelda going to the respective champions and asking them to pilot the divine beasts.
Did you play those cutscenes?
So I showed them those 4 cutscenes before we started the game to kind of give them a window into who these characters are.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're embodying characters that already exist.
That's awesome.
They're not giving them their own personality. These characters have a personality.
How cool is it to have a cutscene to fucking use as a reference too?
It was pretty fun. I had everybody come in the living room.
Sick.
I just stood back and I was just like, okay, watch these things.
Guys,
and I played all 4 of them.
Pay close attention.
Well, and because Tim is a random NPC character that I made up that I was going to play, I offered it to Tim when we were talking about it because I was like, nah, Tim, I haven't seen Tim in a while. He's recovering from surgery. He's had some hard times recently.
This will be good for him.
It'll be good to get out his, because he's had to stay with his parents and stuff because he's, he fell on hard times. He had surgery.
Right.
And so I just thought it'd be cool, get out, come over, hang out with us, whatever. And because his character is one I made up, there's in one of the cutscenes, the 5th cutscene, which we didn't watch all of because Zach is actually actively playing the game and I didn't want to spoil too much.
Yeah.
Getting the window into the personality of the champions really doesn't spoil anything. They're pretty prevalent throughout the entire story.
Right.
But there is that 5th cutscene where the champions are gathered in the throne room at Hyrule Castle and the king is, welcome warriors. Thank you for blah, blah, blah. And there's 2 royal guard guys standing next to the king. And they're with him in other cutscenes too. These are like his personal royal guard guys. And one of them, this guy with this excellent highway patrolman handlebar mustache,
hell yeah,
is Toma. So I just played the first part of that cutscene and I was like, that's you, Tim, right there. That guy with the mustache, that's you. But he has no personality. You get to give him his personality.
No, not the king.
No, this guy with the mustache behind him.
Too freaking awesome.
And because I know Breath of the Wild forward and backward, and because I've been inundated in Tears of the Kingdom for weeks and weeks now since it came out, I've not stopped playing it.
Almost a month, yeah.
Yeah.
Or right around, it might be a month now.
Like when I was doing weaponry, right? Tim's wearing a Royal Guard uniform. He's got a Royal Guard sword. He's got a Royal Guard shield. He's got a Royal Guard bow because those are the weapons the Royal Guards carry. He's got
I know the stats.
Daruk has the Boulder Breaker. Mifa has the Light Scale Trident. Rivali has the Great Eagle Bow. Urbosa has the Scimitar of the 7. These are their weapons, right? And I told them, I was like, look, guys, you don't have to continue using these, right? This is just the weapon you would always have on you.
Right.
If along the way you find something that works better, if along the way you run into a blacksmith and you want to rework the weapon into something more akin to what you want it to be, you can absolutely do that. I don't care. I really don't care beyond this moment. But at the start, the Boulder Breaker is your weapon. The Scimitar of the 7 is your weapon. The Light Scale Trident is your weapon. The Great Eagle Bow is your weapon.
But fighters, you should absolutely dual wield because it's overpowered as fuck.
We actually found we had to create a workaround. Because the Great Eagle Bow in game can fire 3 arrows at once.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So we had to create a workaround because 5th Edition D&D doesn't have multi-shot bows, or at least it doesn't handle it in the same way that 3rd Edition did.
Right.
So what we came up with a bunch of different ideas. What we ended up landing on was if he's using the bow to shoot 3 arrows, we increase damage dice. So not the amount of dice, we increase what the die type is.
Okay.
Right? So a typical arrow would do a D6. We're using 2 arrows. Now it's a D8. Using 3 arrows. Now it's a D10.
Oh, okay.
Right. So we just ended up increasing the die type for each arrow. So you're shooting 3 arrows. So you have the potential to deal more damage. Maybe you don't. Maybe 2 of them miss and you only deal 2 damage.
Did the scaling feel good with that?
It did. It worked. I think it worked well.
Okay.
Lemur did say though, like, I'm going to have to start like after every battle though, asking you if I find any intact arrows on the battlefield. He was like, because I burned through 40 arrows very quickly.
You better get the never-ending quiver.
Ain't no never-ending quivers in Hyrule, bro. You get 60 arrows in your quiver and that's it. And after that, you got to buy more. And they have rupees and stuff, right? They're not wealthy, but they're not poor either. Mifa's a princess, for God's sakes. Like, she's royalty.
She is, in fact, wealthy.
Yeah, she's wealthy, yeah. And Orbosa is the chieftain. Daruk is the chieftain. Rivali is like the captain of the Rito Guard. It's like, these are well-respected people. They're not poor, but they're not rich either, right?
None of them are hurting.
No. Now, there are going to be things that, because of the way Zelda's economy works, the higher tier things, while you can, in the game, find them in the world, we're not doing it like that. You got to buy them, right? So the higher tier things are going to cost more rupees.
I
right?
love it.
So, like, if you wanted to buy the Great Eagle Bow, well, that's like 5,000 rupees, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
Good
you
luck with
have
that.
one. But if you had to make another one, you need like 5,000 rupees, you need some wood, and you need a diamond. That's how you remake one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nerds.
Yeah, we're nerds.
That's
You
incredible.
guys out there already knew
Yeah,
that,
you
though.
guys-
If
you
you've
guys
been
are-
listening to us at all, you know how much of
any-
nerds we are.
Yeah, for any period of time.
Yeah, we're nerds.
I mean, so it's lovely.
It's fun.
Normally now, because we started this with the last episode, doing a segment called Tales from the Table, where we would tell you a little bit from a game. You just got a whole episode on it.
Yeah,
So
hell yeah.
there's no Tale from the Table this week.
Well, and we're doing it once a month. There's no reason why we can't keep
No, we will.
keep the people out there updated on how
will.
it's going.
Next time we'll whittle it down, because you were explaining a lot here, like how the mechanics and stuff worked.
Right.
Not going to have to do that next time. So
Right.
next
We'll
time
just be able to talk about the story.
you'll get your 10-minute segment. Boom.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
it.
We'll do Legend of Zelda Tales from the Table. Hell yeah.
All right, guys. You please be lovely. No, go to entertainthegeeky.com. You can follow us on all of our social media and all that fun stuff. God damn it.
It's right in front of you. What do you mean, God damn it? It's literally right in front
I know.
of you.
I should just go like this.
Right, just do this thing.
I don't do that ever. I don't. I don't think of it in reverse, because I'm looking at. I'm like, all right, this is a mirror. It's not a mirror. There.
No.
That's where you go. Right there.
We're opposite, right?
Go
We're
entertain the go to entertainthegeeky.com. Follow us on all of our social media. If you have not already, please subscribe, like, comment. We want to talk to you and bring you more content. Indefinitely forever. We love you so much.
Yeah.
Do you got any words of wisdom or anything you want to part these guys with?
I got nothing.
Okay.
No wisdom today.
Okay. As
Maybe next time.
always, stay geeky.
It's fun though, man. I'm having a good time.
It sounds freaking amazing.
I'm having a good time. I would talk more about the story. I've told you a little bit about the story and
Yeah.
how it's all going to play out, but I don't want them to know.
You've
right?
got the perfect group for it too, though.
I think so.
You have
I
a
think
really
so.
great group. I think.
Corey will get into it next session. I think we're going to play again in second to last Sunday of July.
Amazing.
The next time we can get together and do it. But I'm also still playing in the Star Trek game another Sunday a month,
Yeah.
which I think we're doing for this one. I think we're doing the second Sunday, first Sunday. I don't know. There's 5 Sundays next month.
I played when we were doing the shop game, Zach played a warlock, and he was
Broken.
borderline
Warlocks are broken.
schizophrenic.
Okay.
So he's like, ho, and he's like freaking out all the time and talking to somebody that's not there and all kinds of weird stuff. And Zach did it very well. And
Sure.
he was in this like constant state of paranoia, basically.
Sure.
So people would ask him something about, why do you need to know that? I don't understand what you need to know. Why do you think why should I have to tell you that?
None of your business.
And it was so good.
Yeah.
Just from a role-playing standpoint. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Zach's playing Mifa. Like when Corey wanted to play Urbosa, when I was explaining the characters to Shannon, I got to Daruk and I said, so he's like a rock guy.
And she's like, done.
They eat rocks. They're kind of barbaric. She was like, I want to play that guy. I was like, yeah, it's yours. So between Lemur and Zach, it was like, well, there's Rivali, who's like a warrior bird guy, who's kind of an arrogant douche. And then there's Mifa, who's like a princess. And Zach, who I talked to first, was like, oh, I want to play Mifa.
He's like, I'm a princess.
Yeah, like I want to play Mifa. And I was like, so that leaves the arrogant douche for Lemur. And I believe Lemur's response to that was, yeah, so just like every day of my life. Which is just not true. He's the sweetest dude. He's not an arrogant douche.
He's one of the most genuine sweet guys on planet
Earth. He's a very
Earth.
sweet man, and I love him so much. But yeah, he's sarcastic as hell.
Somebody had to do it.
But he's been doing Rivali great, man. Just as like I told him, he's like, he just hates Link. He just thinks Link's a piece of shit and should not be the hero. The hero should be him. The sword that seals the darkness should be on his back.
My fucking sword that steals the darkness.
I mean, when you meet him, when you go to Rito Village for the first time, you have that flashback with Rivali where Link's like standing there. Rivali just comes up and starts talking shit. Like basically like, you know, for some reason, I've been tapped to merely assist you. It's asinine. He actually says the words asinine. And he goes, perhaps we should just have a challenge. Me and you. Where should we do it? Oh, I know. How about up there? And he points to his divine beast, right? And then he goes, oh, pardon me. I forgot you have no way to get up to that divine beast on your own. And he just like flies off. And as he's flying away, he just goes, good luck sealing the darkness.
Bitch.
Yeah, he's just an asshole. Like, he's such an asshole.
That was lovely bonus content.